Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reeder with Future Pastimes, and I'm a designer on expansions for the Classic Dune Board Game 2019 edition from Gale Force 9. In this video, I'm going to be talking about a power alliance that I call the Villains Alliance, and it's one that exists between House Harkonnen and House Moritani. So, these factions, both in the Dune universe, have a reputation for being really awful people. So House Harkonnen, very treacherous and always scheming. House Moritani, resorting to terrorism. The real strength in this alliance, the base of the strength, has to deal with how they use trader cards, especially when we're talking about advanced. Now, the Harkonnen, of course, they've got the 4 traders. So depending on who those traders are, the strength of this Villains Alliance will wax or wane. If they have, for instance, some of their own leaders and some Moritani leaders, the efficacy of the trader reveals is not really as good for House Harkonnen. But House Harkonnen has 4 traders that belong to factions other than the Harkonnen and the Moritani. Then it's much more potent. Likewise, the Moritani have their assassination advantage, which means if they hold a trader card for a faction and they get into a battle with that faction and lose, they can assassinate the leader of the trader card that they're holding, provided that was not the leader that they're fighting. Because, of course, if that was the leader that they were fighting, they can call traitor. The real strength of the assassination of leaders is that you can kill off a leader, get to spice for it, and then at the end of that game turn in the Mentat pause, you're going to leave that traitor face up in front of you, and you're going to draw a new traitor. So with the luck of the draw, you might be able to assassinate several leaders in the game. Now, if you do get a Harkonnen leader after you have formed the alliance, well, then all you have is a safe leader for the Harkonnen player. But if you're able to get lucky with those draws and get a number of leaders that you can bump off, that is going to weaken those factions. Combined with the Harkonnen advanced advantage of capturing leaders, then you can really put these other factions on the ropes. And that's ideally what's going to happen. You get to the point where their pool of leaders is getting smaller and smaller, especially if you're able to capture and or kill their stronger leaders. And if they get into a situation where they have few leaders at their disposal, they might find themselves in a battle with no leaders left, and therefore they cannot play treachery cards. And Harkonnen should be getting into a lot of battles if they've got the Moritani as their ally. Fill up the Harkonnen hand with a lot of treachery cards so they've got some great variety, because the ally advantage that Moritani gives to the Harkonnen is if the Harkonnen lose a battle, they get to keep one of the treachery cards that was in the battle plan that they would have been able to keep if they had won the battle. So if they've got a powerful weapon and they lose, they can keep that weapon, and that means they can continue to harass the other players. So that's really what you're doing. You're setting yourselves up so that the Harkonnen especially can go and just annihilate other factions. And then with the assassination of the leaders, Moritani is doing their part as well. Now, this is far more potent if the two factions can trust each other enough to coordinate with their traders. And that's the rub there, because you don't always want to share your trader information with somebody else, because alliances can be fleeting. And that is especially true with Moritani. If they've got their terror tokens on the planet, they can get out of an alliance that they're in and get into a different alliance. So Harkonnen needs to keep Moritani close so that they can really leverage their knowledge and the trader cards and go for that win. They can use the terror tokens to try to keep factions away from certain locations. There's an assassination terror token as well, so it's another opportunity to wipe out somebody's leader. Neither of these factions has an income per se. Moritani has a way to get some spice with a couple of their terror tokens, but it's really dependent on whether or not somebody's going to trigger it and when you decide to play it. Plus, it's only one per game turn, so it's a trickle. You're not really going to get those terror tokens out quickly at all, but over the course of several turns, especially if the alliance doesn't happen right away, you might be able to put those terror tokens in strategic locations so that they are a deterrent from factions coming in there, or you're setting a trap. You're hoping that somebody goes in there so that you can do the sneak attack and get some additional forces in, or assassinate a leader, or do sabotage where you're going to get rid of one of their treachery cards, and if you're holding a worthless card or a cheap hero or something like that, forcing them to take it at the same time. So that's the heart of the matter for the Villains Alliance. You really want to capitalize on those traders, because if you are coordinating, you can say, all right, look, I've got 2 Fremen leaders that could be traders, so go get into some fights with them, especially if you've got a leader that you can at least assassinate if a trader doesn't come up. And you're going to start whittling those characters down. If Harkonnen is capturing characters that aren't traders, that increases the likelihood of a trader showing up later on. So this is it's a fun alliance to get in for the people in the alliance. It's terrifying for anybody at the table who's not in this alliance. But like I said, you got to go after some spice, but you should be getting into a lot of battles anyway. Both factions should go for it, but especially the Harkonnens, because if the Moritani can help them to fill up their hand with some really powerful cards, then they can go pick battles everywhere, even if it's not in a stronghold, even if it's not in a battle for spice. If you're going to win that battle, if you're able to kill leaders, that's an income that the Harkonnens can get. And then the capturing of the leaders is clutch. You got to really just wipe out a faction if you can, because you can hold on to those leaders. And that's my preference as Harkonnen. Even if I capture a relatively low strength leader, I like to keep that leader, because they can't get that leader back. You want to weaken that faction. 5 leaders is it's a tall order to get them to the point where their pool of 5 leaders is depleted because they're either in the tanks or captured. But it can be done, and I have seen it done, and I have done it. So go for that. That's my recommendation on this alliance. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and any other suggestions that you have about ways that the villains can leverage their advantages and intimidate everyone into doing their bidding so that you can win the game. That's it for this video. Everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.